So what kind of gigs were you know who doing?
Jacobonk.
Yeah, that's right, and some clubs around Wolverhampton. We did the Wolverhampton Town Hall a couple of times. There were a lot of gigs in those days, and I can't, you know, there was a club in Moseley we used to go and play. There were a couple of clubs in Birmingham we played. The Muse, there you go.
The Bee Gees played in the Muse.
The Ritz in King's Heath, for example.
That was the first gig
Plaza
I ever did, though.
Yeah.
Plaza, was it Edgbaston or Plaza?
Old Hill and
Old Hill, that was the
and
one
Old
out
Hill,
in the
yeah.
country.
Edgbaston and Old Hill, yeah.
Didn't you get punched at? I know you weren't in the band in those days. If it's the sort of
I
place
was getting punched up somewhere else in Liverpool. You know?
Probably was
I
always
never
getting punched.
understood that. The number of times you got bounced for no reason whatsoever.
Well, I'm a drummer, man.
That's, I guess so.
Were you professional?
Nah.
Nah. Col had a real job, and I was working at, as I say, the toy store. So yeah, I guess we were semi-professional, but it was the only point of interest in our lives, and we weren't that interested in our jobs at all.
So at some point, you know who becomes Bachdenkel.
Mm-hmm.
What is the legend behind the name Bachdenkel?
Well, Terry, the other singer, the tall guy, his job in the daytime was a computer programmer. Computers, well, nobody knew anything about computers at that time. He said he used a computer programmer's technique to invent the name of a group by putting all our names into a sort of a mixing box and mixing jug, and it came out Bachdenkel Purists. So eventually we dropped the Purists and kept the Bachdenkel. And at that time, the guitarist left, the other guitarist he left.
He got thrown out by
Yeah.
Colin Swinburne.
I didn't know, I didn't want to say that.
It must be said that there was not any question of jealousy between Colin and this John Taylor. John Taylor was a really ugly little bugger, even smaller than me. He was fat, he was greasy, he got a filthy mind.
Yeah, a very dirty mind, yeah, and he was very unfaithful with his wife.
That's right. And he could, no, he was not a good guy, and he was not a good guy to have around. He was also like 15 years older than we were. He played a lot of jazz chords, and that was effectively quite impressive, you know, when you're a guitar player, a young guitar player. Wow, how does he do that? But apart from that, he was just, it was toxic.
Well, there's a lot of people called John Taylor, and I'm sure that particular clip when it goes on YouTube, you know, will probably get one John Taylor into quite a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
When you changed the name from You Know Who to Bachdenkel, was there a change in direction as far as the music was concerned? Were you aiming at something different? Was something going on that you wanted to be part of?
I'd say it was because we wanted to do something more interesting with our own songs, rather than working, you know, writing them at night and playing them tomorrow to the other guy. The main focus of our interest was really in music. That was all we were really interested in, you know. Writing it, playing it, listening to it, stuff like that. I think that's the part of the answer to the question, why Bachdenkel? Because we didn't get into what became Bachdenkel on the albums and those songs until a fair amount later. Because Colin and I were writing stuff, and we decided at one point to record.
Yeah.
However, I don't think we definitely weren't yet, maybe, I can't remember actually, we weren't yet Bachdenkel. I don't know whether we were Bachdenkel at that point or...
At some point, you ended up with a publishing contract with Apple Music.
Can't answer to that.
You didn't have a publishing contract with Apple Music.
Not as far as I know.
I wanted to write a Paul McCartney song. I really wanted to write something like that, so I wrote this thing called, which became An Apple a Day. And we went down to Apple in London and tried to sell the song, so they would publish it. And they gave us a contract, but we had to record it. Did we record it first or after? I don't know. We recorded it first. We went to a studio in Birmingham, and a couple of friends came along, played different instruments, and we recorded An Apple a Day. So then we took the demo down to Apple Corps in London, and eventually they gave us a contract. How much it had to do with the title, I don't know. But it was a pretty catchy little melody, anyway.
The band was the 5-piece.
Yeah, it was still the 5-piece, the original, you know, the original. The same bass player, the same drummer, the same very tall singer, except he didn't sing on Apple a Day, I don't think. No. And after that, when we got that contract, after that, we wanted to go abroad. We wanted to go to France. And the bass player, who had already been to France and worked on the military bases, the American military bases in France, he didn't want to work anymore over there because, you know, he was married and he had a daughter.
Dave was in the band when
Brian
Brian joined.
turned up,
that's right.
And I replaced Ron.
Yeah.
That's right. And
Well,
and
Ron,
there's another story.
my remembrance of Ron leaving, it was a shame because Ron was actually a damn good drummer. He was a
Yeah,
really
it was
nice guy
fucking
as
good
well.
drummer.
Yeah, it was good.
He wasn't anywhere near as good as Brian, but he was
They
a
could
really
be.
nice guy, just a good guy to be around, you know.
Anyway, Ron, the drummer, left, and we needed a drummer, and we interviewed one or two people, and then Brian came along, so he was obviously the one.
At this time, you were still not professional, in a sense.
Yeah,
You had jobs.
we all have jobs, yeah.
No, by this
What
time
was your
I was
job,
at drama
Brian?
school.
I was a commercial artist, graphic designer.
What was your job, Brian?
I was a screen printer.
Was
Remember
this
that?
somehow useful?
It did help, yeah. It did help. I knew how to stencil paintings that Colin used to make up.
To make a bit of money, spare cash in them.
Yeah,
So you answered an advertisement in a music shop
correct.
and you encountered Pete and Colin and you happened to be a screen printer.
That's correct.
Maybe a better screen printer than drummer? Was it useful being a screen printer?
Well, it helped us maybe to make a bit of money to pay for our breakfast.
Actually,
I said our breakfast, not my breakfast.
It helped you get gigs.
It helped us get gigs from that point of view. I don't know if we were on the poster. Were we on the poster? Yes, we
Some
were.
of them
Yeah,
were,
some of
yeah.
them were. Yeah, okay. But somebody who used to do the paintings didn't know how to spell.
But what was interesting was eventually the bass player, as I said earlier, he wanted to come back and live in England. He didn't want to go abroad. And we decided we wanted to go abroad. We wanted to go to France, for example. So then we were left, like he left, and then we were left without a bass player. So we started talking about who could possibly play the bass, and we never found anybody that really fitted. One day Pete, I think this is right, one day Pete picked up bass player's bass, which he'd left around, and started playing it, and all of a sudden it clicked. Said, that's it, Pete's the bass player. Don't know if he wanted to be one.
We'd actually done a gig or two as a 3-piece whilst we were still doing gigs with a 5-piece. And it's true that we did this gig down a place called The Factory, which was the big Birmingham club at the time, and they booked us in. And we were standing there, and so as Bachdenkel, the 3-piece, and I was using Dave's equipment, which he never took home with him, you see. We just put it in the van and down to the gig. And I remember very clearly standing at the counter, my front facing the counter, and saying, I bet Dave would shit bricks if he saw us now, you know, and stuff like that. And Colin said to me, he's right behind you. And I thought Colin was joking. I turned around and Dave was right behind me. And that would have been the moment for him to break me into 4 pieces.
But he was a really good guy.